feels like I've been here all before. Radio humming, the world feels right. Every little thing's in tune tonight. Shadows fade, the truth comes through. Fresh start in the morning blue. Hey, now blue sky shining down. Left your feet, don't touch the ground. Laugh it off, let the good times stay. Oh yeah, it's a blue sky day. Coffee steaming, a smile breaks free. Simple joys are enough for me. Stones roll out, but I don't mind. Sun's still waiting on the other side. Turn it up, feel the sound. Good vibrations all around. Hey, now blue sky shining down. Lift your feet, don't touch the ground. Laugh it off, let the good times stay. Oh yeah, it's a blue sky day. No heavyweight, no. Wake up, sunlight tapping on the door. Feels like I've been here all before. Radio humming, the world feels right. Every little thing's in tune tonight. Shadows fade, the truth comes through. Fresh start in the morning blue. Hey now, blue sky shining down. Lift your feet, don't touch the ground. Laugh it off, let the good times stay. Oh yeah, it's a blue sky day.
Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat, Minnesota journalist Nick Shirley. He has dismantled Tim Walz's desperate attempt. Tim Walz desperately attempted to sound competent as this scandal in Minnesota implodes. You've been following it very closely with me here on the Conservative Cat Show. Go ahead, subscribe while you're here. So great to see everybody in the comments section bright and early this morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Time. We're a little late this morning. Had some technical difficulties. But good morning, Cat and Chat. Good morning, Cat and Chat. Appreciate you being here. Throw it in the comments section. What'd you do over Christmas break? What'd you do over Christmas? Did you go see some family? Did you do some Christmas tradition? What's your favorite Christmas tradition? If you missed it, we did have some Christmas shows. Kwanzaa, I totally dismantle Kwanzaa and how it is a fake holiday. You know, Governor J.B. Pritzker threw it out there. Happy Kwanzaa, you know, and it's celebrated from December 26th to the 1st of January. Totally fake holiday created by a guy, a cult leader, really, if you will, Ronald Everett McKinley is his name. There were two women who testified that they were brutally tortured. I mean, we're talking putting the women's body parts in a vice. Okay, we're talking putting irons in these women's mouth, and there was physical evidence that suggested that these women were tortured for a prolonged period of time. Of according to court documents. Okay. And this is the guy who created Kwanzaa in the 60s. So it's not like an ancient African holiday, first of all. Second of all, it was created by a psychopath. And this psychopath he was convicted, and he only served like 4 years, and then he wrote a bunch of letters to his politician friends, and then he got out. Only served 4 years of his 10-year sentence, which is insane. If you missed it, go check it out. We also talked about, should Christians do Santa Claus? I ruffled some feathers with that one. Should Christians do Santa Claus? And I'm not anti-Christmas. I'm not anti-secular Christmas and enjoying some American traditional cultures, Santa Claus. But I expressed that, maybe we as Christians should take a step back and talk about the actual Saint Nick. Saint Nick, who was on this board, really a council, the early church, the 1st through the 4th century church, they really were butting heads over whether Jesus was actually God. Okay, there was some people, Arius, who had said, like, Jesus was an ultimate human being and like was created by God, but was not God himself. And the early church squashed that false doctrine, squashed that false religion. And Saint Nick was a big part of that. He was very generous. There's a story that has been passed down, which we all believe to be true about Saint Nick. Him and his generosity, he gave money to this father who was impoverished, had 3 daughters, couldn't pay their dowries, and he was nice and generous in the quiet, and he would give gifts in the quiet because he believed the scriptures. And Jesus saying, hey, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. I'm vaguely quoting scripture there. But really, essentially, there's scripture that backs this idea up of being generous in the quiet, doing something without other people seeing, doing something only your father sees. And Saint Nick lived that out. So I think that that's an incredible story to tell children. I don't know why we don't tell them the real story about Saint Nick. And I think that we as Christian parents, we as Christians have an obligation to distinguish between lies and pretend, because if you don't, I mean, the old song, it says, he sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows when you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Like, the moral judge, omnipotent, all-seeing, all-knowing, like, we've given godly attributes to the Santa Claus figure. And kids can't distinguish really between pretend and lies. And then ultimately, we're all left scratching our heads. He turns 18, she turns 18, and then she or he abandons their faith completely. And we're like, how did that happen? Well, maybe it's because we lied to them and didn't distinguish between pretend and lies. And they didn't believe us when we told them that, hey, God is an omnipotent, all-seeing, morally judging figure. They didn't believe us because they grew up and figured out Santa was fictional. So logically, maybe God's fictional. Yeah. So if you missed those episodes, you can go find them, check them out, share them with your loved ones. I do want to get to some news today. So the journalist Nick Shirley, 100 million views on this 42-minute video. I did watch the whole thing. It was beautiful journalism. New York Times has done anything, PBS, NPR, Wall Street Journal. None of these esteemed journalists have uncovered anything about this Minnesota scandal, which is imploding. And Tim Walz has come out now, and he has tried to sound competent, and he's pushing out as much propaganda as he can. Obviously, he's running for re-election. Let's do Illinois next. Now, if you've been watching this show carefully, I've exposed some crazy things that go on in Illinois. Nick took it a step further, and he actually showed you these daycare centers. And I applaud him. This is incredible stuff. I've actually gone to a couple of daycare centers, and I'm not saying that they're committing fraud, but I'm definitely questioning Head Start programs. Now, this is a national program, billions upon billions of state dollars, not only state dollars, but you've got federal dollars going into this program. And I've gone into some of these Head Start daycare programs, and you walk in, and this actually happened to me. I walk in, and there's like 3 or 4 people watching 30 to 40 kids, right? I mean, that's like 10 kids per teacher. Okay. And all of these teachers, and I hate to say this, I just noticed it. And maybe it was just this one location, but they seemed like mentally, like quite literally, and I mean this in the most factual sense of the word, mentally retarded. Okay, so these daycare workers, like, clearly not mentally all there, mentally inept. Okay, so I'm not being mean when I say that. And I was so confused. I was like, what? These kids? And then you walk in and you're like, okay, this is billions of dollars we're pouring into this program. I mean, this should be top-notch daycare. And I walk in and I'm like, the kids are on top of each other. I mean, it's not like disgusting or terrible conditions, but definitely not, the squeeze is not, or the juice is not worth the squeeze here. And, you know, we have this kind of stuff happening all over, I believe, the country, to the extent where the children aren't even there, where they're not even doing the service. That's jaw-dropping. And we'll get to it. Buckle up, because Tim Walz, hey, FBI is coming after you. Kash Patel talks about what actions he's taking at the FBI amidst this social media circulation of this video. I think it's interesting that we haven't heard much from the FBI on the Minnesota deal. And they should be acting fast, considering that Tim Walz is up for re-election. But they finally came out and said something. And I think that Nick Shirley provoked them into saying something. You guys know that I'm not a big fan of Pam Bondi, Kash Patel. Unlike, you know, some other members of the administration, I think RFK Jr., Tom Homan, I don't think those people are there to elevate themselves to a position of popularity, so that way after this administration is ushered out, they've still got their cushy gigs on, you know, Fox News as a Fox News contributor. I just don't see Kash Patel doing anything. I don't see Pam Bondi doing anything that we want. We want to uncover, we want people to be arrested, cuffed for COVID-19. We want people to be arrested, cuffed for what Tim Walz has done in Minnesota, or allegedly what Tim Walz has done or has done while he's the leader of that state, or not done, turned a blind eye. We want to see action in Minnesota. We want to see action against COVID. We want to see action regarding the 2020 election steal. We want to see action regarding Trump's enemies. Nobody's really been cuffed for political weaponization. And I'm disappointed. So we're going to talk about Kash Patel. We're going to talk about Illinois as well. There's a story. So they hired, and this is another example of maybe not outright corruption, but like our tax dollars going to something that is completely wasted. So our tax dollars have gone to this diversity commission in Illinois, and they've only made diversity worse. So they're tasked with providing more contracts, state contracts, to Black-owned businesses or women-owned businesses. And actually, since the creation of this commission, since the allocation of our tax dollars to this commission for the people, I think it's like 6 to 10, something. I gotta check my numbers there. How many people are made up, make this commission up? they're paid $150,000 salaries, with taxpayer money. And their whole job is to make diversity better and to issue more state contracts to. Now, I don't like the whole thing. I think, hey, our tax dollars should be going and the state contract should be awarded to the cheapest and most effective vendor, right? So I don't like this policy at all. But even the policy itself is not working the way they said they would get it to work. So we're going to dig into that. So let me start with independent journalist Nick Shirley. He has lit up the internet with his video this past week. And he did like a deep dive on these Minnesota daycares where he allegedly didn't find any children in these daycares. Now, I told you that I've gone to some daycares here in Illinois, specifically Head Start affiliated daycares. That's where our DCFS children go. Foster parents take those children to those daycares. And I've seen some like questionable, like I'm like, okay, like only 4 people on staff, they're very understaffed for the billions of dollars we're pouring into that program. And then you look at the directors of Head Start and how much money they're making. I believe the one here in Illinois has a connection to Bruce Renner. Okay, so, these are people who are politically connected, people who are running these daycares in Minnesota and even here in Illinois. They're usually politically connected people. And they're the ones running the show. And then you look at the show and you're like, this kind of sucks for what we're paying for. It's kind of like, let me put it this way. Have you ever gone to one of those, I call them millennial burger joints? Okay, so you go and it's like $40 for a burger. The ceilings are black. It's a very uncomfortable stool you're sitting on. There's no fries. It's a $40 burger. And you could get the same burger at a diner for $5. You get the fries, you get to sit in a nice comfy booth. That's what this reminds me of, in Illinois. Now in Minnesota, it's like showing up to one of those millennial burger shops. You order the burger and then nothing comes out on the plate. This is really bad. So the video, the full video, 42 minutes long, has over 100 million views. That's an amazing number. Elon Musk tweeted out that it has over 100 million views on X. That's just on X. I mean, the video, I think, is up on YouTube. It's on Facebook. So just on X, that's up to 100 million. That's an amazing number. Okay. So Nick, he actually found one of the centers. They had a sign up and it was called Quality Luring Center rather than Quality Learning Center. So they didn't even put up like an accurate sign. Okay. They misspelled the name of the daycare on the sign. So, and we've allocated hundreds of millions of dollars to these daycares in Minnesota. So this is the single most damning expose, I think, produced by an independent journalist. It wasn't produced by Wall Street Journal, New York Times, PBS, NPR. No, one video, one guy. He exposed that over $100 million in Minnesota Somali fraud funneled through fake daycares and healthcare fronts. Okay. So what's going on is these Somalians are politically connected and they're allocating taxpayer dollars to these daycares to service children, but there are no children. Okay. This is what the video shows. And he uncovered some staggering I've got some staggering stats here for you. So the Quality Learning Center, it was misspelled on the sign. Was licensed 99 kids. Like there should be 99 kids there. They get 1.9 million in 2025. And they were licensed for more the year prior. Overall, over the last couple of years, they've gotten like $4 million. This quality learning center looked abandoned in the video. Then you've got the Future Leaders Early Learning Center. Okay, licensed for 90 kids, $6.67 million over 2 years, and it was completely empty. Then you have the Mako in Mini Child Care Center. They were licensed 120 kids and combined. So there were like 2 child care centers and they were squished into one. They had 120 kids. Well, they were supposed to have 120 kids. Completely abandoned. $4.6 million over 3 years is what they were supposed to be using to service the children, but it was completely empty. Again, ABC Learning Center licensed 40 kids, $3 million over the last 3 years, totally inactive. So all of these centers trace back to the same people. Okay, pointing to a coordinated operation of fake services. So what I mean by fake, or what I mean by the same people. So they're politically connected. And for example, and I'm just spitballing here, I didn't look, but say ABC Learning Center and the Quality Learning Center. Okay, so you'll have maybe the executive director, and I'm throwing out names. These are just examples. I didn't look into it. The Quality Learning executive director, her name is Mary Smith. Okay, but she's the child coordinator for ABC Learning Center. You know, that's kind of how this stuff goes. And they're all kind of connected to each other. The same people are running the show here, and they're providing fake services. They're not providing any services at all. And I think to an extent, definitely, we got to look at Illinois, see if this stuff is going on here. I definitely know that our taxpayer dollars are being wasted on exorbitant executive director salaries for these nonprofits, whether that's homeless nonprofits, immigration nonprofits, early learning nonprofits. Okay, so the staff, when Nick questioned them, when he went to these daycare centers, the staff there couldn't explain where the kids were. Okay, one building alone had 22 healthcare or autism service entities registered. And in one day, Nick exposed over $110 million in taxpayer payments tied to the various locations he had visited. So $110 million tied to these locations, but these locations aren't providing any services. So where is that money going? I think that it's going to, these Somalis that are connected politically to either live their lavish lifestyles or to funnel that money back to Al-Shabaab, which is that terrorist group. This is an ongoing investigation. Where is the money? We've still got to figure that part out. We do know up to this point that the taxpayer dollars are not going to what they say they're going to. So that's fraud. Government officials are starting to take notice. Elon Musk calling for Tim Walz's prosecution here. And all it took was one guy with a camera, and he exposed it. He exposed what the state has ignored for years. Apparently, this has been going on for years, and people have tried to bring it to light, but it's been buried. It's been not allowed. Whistleblowers have been intimidated. And whether or not officials were complicit in this, did they stop it or attempt to stop it? Did Tim Walz know to stop it? All eyes are on Minnesota right now. It's time for action. Take a look at the small clipped version of Nick Shirley's expose here. I watched the full 42 minutes. It's good. Go check it out. But here's a clip of it.
In your child care?
Which child care name is a lot of
Minnesota Child Care right here. It's from the state of Minnesota's website. We're just wondering where the children are.
Where the children are?
Yeah, where are the children? It says you have 102 children here, and you got $2.66 million this year in funding, and $2.5 million last year. We're just wondering where the kids are.
And who are you?
My name's Nick Shirley.
Nick Shirley.
And where are you Which department?
Oh, we are from ourselves.
Yeah.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going. Look at that. Shut us down. Where are the children at? No children inside of this daycare center. And look at this daycare center right here. No children inside of this daycare center. But between those buildings, over $2.6 million. And this fraud is here at this daycare.
Don't open up!
So this is Quality Learning Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center.
Don't open
They
up!
said they spelt learning wrong.
Don't open up!
How do you have ice here, ma'am? I'm literally a YouTuber.
Don't open up!
Ma'am, what do you think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Don't open up! We have ice!
Ma'am, what do you think about this place being licensed for 99 children
Don't open up!
and getting $4 million
Don't
over the
open up! It's ice!
$4 million in the last 2 years?
Go away!
What do you think about that? Are you in
Go
favor?
away!
Are you in favor of that?
Go away!
You know where
You're
the-
not welcome here.
Are you-
Shame on you.
Are you in favor of $1.9
Shame
million
on you. It's
going
ice.
illegally,
Don't open up!
fraudulently to this business that has Quality Learning Center but can't even spell learning right on the door? Ever seen children at that daycare center right there?
Where?
Yeah, it's right there. It says the child. You've never seen daycare.
I haven't seen anybody in here.
We're going to educate you on something. So what do you think about this daycare center? They spelled learning wrong. They've received over $1.9 million this year alone, and they're supposed to have 99 children here.
I don't see it.
99 children.
Have you ever seen any children here?
None at all. None.
This year they got 1.9 million. Last year they got 1.5 million of your tax money for 99 children. We just want to know where are the kids?
Right.
Where are the children?
I don't see them. I've been here since 2017. I haven't seen anybody like
Never
that here.
seen a child here.
No, not at all.
And so you've
8
never
years.
seen a child here for 8 years?
Nope, not at all.
I knocked on the door, and to my surprise, somebody actually answered the door.
Hello? Can we speak? I would like to check a child in the daycare.
Why?
Can I speak to a manager? Where can I get paperwork to file for my son? I wanted to put my son Joey in daycare.
And after a few questions, the lady went silent.
Looks like little Joey Shirley ain't going to daycare here. And now where are we going?
Now we're going to Sweet Angel Childcare.
We're in the middle of a strip mall here inside of this neighborhood.
In fiscal year 2025, this facility, which says it's licensed for 74 kids, was paid $1.26 million in tax money. And there are no kids, and all the facilities are the same way.
List of all of the healthcare companies. Loads of them right here. We want healthcare.
No, it's okay.
Yes, we'd like to speak about getting healthcare here.
No.
Why can't I get healthcare here?
No, wait.
Warning, you are under video surveillance. No trespassing, security armed. This is the strangest place I've ever been to get healthcare. Just a bunch of different places. Healthcare here, healthcare right here. Another healthcare company right here. There are 3 healthcare companies inside of this building right here in this room of 7C. Now we have another Helping Hands, Home Care LLC, another healthcare company. Present Help right here. We're looking for the best rates of healthcare here inside this building because we have so many options. Who can we talk to about getting the best healthcare?
I don't know.
No?
Sorry.
All right. We will not get any healthcare here. David, this is one of the stranger places I've ever been. Literally, healthcare every door you go to, yet nobody will give you a rate. How much money do you think's been funneled through this building?
Every year, I would say 50 to 60 million.
Now they all get mad.
What was this money spent on? 1.26 million. What was that money spent on? There aren't any kids.
Ask the owner and the kids.
Well, then why are you talking for the owner if you're telling me to talk to the owner?
I'm sorry. I'm not understand what you're talking about.
Do you have a child here?
No.
Does anybody?
No.
Where are the 74 kids? Did you lose them? Did you lose these kids? Do I need to call someone? Do I need to issue an Amber Alert for missing children? Are these children missing? It's not my business that children are missing. 74 infants and toddlers, preschool.
The proof's right there. There's no children anywhere.
It's from the state of Minnesota right here.
My God.
I think we're moving on to the next location. Wow. Have a
All I've got to say is Minnesota has been taken over. All eyes are on Minnesota right now. It's time for action. Like, what the number of views on that video shows me is that this is really disturbing to Americans. We are all deeply disturbed by this. And I think that they're buying votes. I don't know what they're doing with this money. They're not providing services. What are they doing with the money? Are they sending it back overseas to the Al-Shabaab terrorist organization? Minnesota has been taken over by foreigners, by the Somalis, and these Somalis are getting paid for by your tax dollars. So these American people are the views tell me that we are very disturbed by this subject, and we want it addressed. The national attention has forced Minnesota Governor Tim Walz to kind of act in a defensive way. And I'll show you this post that he made on Sunday. Yesterday, apparently, he's now out there arguing how great things are in Minnesota. Here we go. Who does this remind you of? Okay, like I swear Tim Walz and Governor J.B. Pritzker could be twins if you just look at their tweets. But we're number 8 in safety. We're number 5 in a best state to live in. Number 3 state for jobs. Number 2 state to raise a family. Number 2 state to retire. We've made progress, but there's more to do to deliver security, opportunity, and freedom to every Minnesotan. I won't quit fighting until we're number 1. Oh boy. I got to share some of the comments here because Scott Pressler, he got out there and had, shot back, and he said, number 1 in leering because they couldn't spell learning right, the Quality Learning Center. And then you have Nick Shirley striking back saying, don't forget number 1 in fraud. So yeah, beautiful comebacks. What we're seeing here is the FBI. They've come out and responded to Nick Shirley's video as well. Really, that's what it was. It was Nick Shirley's video that I think triggered a response from Kash Patel. This has been in the news for, I've been telling you about this fraud, feeding our futures, that what I highlighted, where they funneled all kinds of tax dollars, specifically to 2 immigrants tied to Ilhan Omar, Somali immigrants who worked on the Ilhan Omar campaign. How much did she know? These 2 guys were convicted, and they were spending the money on their lavish lifestyle. So very fancy cars, multiple houses, and they were getting paid these taxpayer dollars through feeding our children and its various sub-organizations. And feeding our children, I mean, this came out during COVID, and they had like a sub-organization under that where they were supposed to be feeding kids, hungry children, and they weren't doing that. These 2 Somali immigrants were rather getting paid to go live these lavish lifestyles. They were convicted. They have ties to Ilhan Omar. How much did she know? I hope that the FBI investigation uncovers some of that. In fact, one of the Somali immigrants who got the taxpayer money, Ilhan Omar had her campaign launch or celebration or something, victory party there, and it was his restaurant where they had like a victory party. So like kind of closely connected. Hope that's investigated. But the FBI is surging assets into the state to investigate things. Even Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said his department is looking into reports of money allegedly going out to terrorists. Okay, the Al-Shabaab terrorist group that I talked about. So Walz is trying to keep his head above water here. The scandal's really imploding around him, and he's making posts now about the state of Minnesota being the state to live in. And I want to share some of his prior posts about providing that money. Okay. And this is evidence. Okay. So I hope that Kash Patel clips these, uses them as evidence. His ex posts here, are from the past and they haven't aged well. Here he says Minnesota's economy doesn't work without child care providers, so we're giving them a raise. We're providing $316 million in direct funding to boost pay for child care providers. Okay, boost the pay for child care providers, but they're not providing child care. So why are you paying them? Is it to go vote for you? Okay, and we're building stronger child care system for the middle class families. I've seen this sort of play out, and like I said, I think Illinois, to an extent, has something similar going on, specifically with the Head Start program. Now, the Head Start program is a national program, and I'm just speculating here, but what we're paying, it doesn't, visit any of those daycare centers, we're not paying for multiple child care providers. We're talking 2 or 3 per establishment. And those 2 or 3 workers, you talk to them, they're getting paid like $10 an hour. And largely, a lot of them are disabled. And it's confusing. You're like, wait a second, we're paying for disabled people millions of dollars funneled into this program to watch children. And it's like the millennial burger thing. We should be getting, for $40, burger, a whole mess of fries, best burger of your life, and we're not getting that, right? I would rather spend $5, get the burger and the mess of the fries and get something better. So like, where is the money going to? Like, that's what I'm talking, these trendy burger places. You spend $40 on like a tiny little burger, and I could go to this diner and do $5 and get a whole mess of a burger and fries. So I don't know what's going on, right? Because the money's not going to the kids. So Walz's new post here was met with all kinds of backlash by Nick Shirley and by Scott Pressler. They fired back, but the FBI needs to look into California. The FBI needs to look into Illinois. And we really need to look into Governor J.B. Pritzker, because under his reign, our budget has increased from $30 billion to $55 billion. Now, that's a lot of spending. What are we getting for that additional spending, that additional $20 billion? What extra services are they providing? But for the moment, Minnesota seems to be under the magnifying glass, and things are unraveling. Okay, Walz is running for re-election, and he's giving voters a reason not to vote for him. Okay, especially when he comes out with this propaganda. He should be like coming out and saying, say no to fraud. This is so wrong. Our departments, there's going to be a complete overhaul. I'm going to be firing people. He's not saying that. He's saying, don't look over here. Everything's hunky-dory. And, it looks really bad for him, re-election wise. And this is the character. I want to be clear. This is the character, Tim Walz. And he's like a caricature. Like, I can't believe that the Democrats put him out there as the vice president candidate. It tells you how twisted and sick this party is. And they're still throwing him out there for re-election. I cannot wait. I hope Mike Lindell crushes his ass in the gubernatorial race in Minnesota. I don't even know if Mike Lindell is an official candidate. I know that he did his candidate filing, paperwork for a campaign, and launched or had some paperwork to launch a campaign to begin collecting. So we'll have to see. But I would be so pro Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, over this fella. Am I right? So Tim Walz's response has been lacking at best. Okay. He has not come out strongly and said that he's against fraud. The allegations have gone viral because of this journalist, Nick Shirley. He's looked into various daycare centers, healthcare centers, and Shirley had, trouble finding these children that they were supposed to be providing services to at these purported childcare facilities. Like I said, one of the daycare centers, they didn't even spell the name learning correctly. It was supposed to be called Quality Learning Center, and it was Quality Leering Center, the sign above the door. And they're all like boarded up. You go and you ask, hey, can I enroll my child? They're saying, no, you can't. What's going on? So FBI Director, let's get to Kash Patel, who's been nothing short of a disappointment. This for this Trump administration this year. I'm sorry, but I wanted to see Fauci in cuffs, and I didn't get that. At least some people. I want to see some people answer for the crimes that were committed against Americans. For the crime, really, it's a crime what they did to the American people during that time. There was no evidence that masking or social distancing worked. Yes, yet they forced it on people by police force, by and enforced these stay-at-home orders. And they told you that ivermectin didn't work. And I wanted some action there. I didn't get any. I would love to see some action against January 6th. The finding the people who incited those riots, the FBI. We know FBI agents were there inciting people to go into the Capitol. I want those FBI agents held accountable. I want the people who directed the FBI agents to incite people to go into the Capitol held accountable. And I want them to face consequences, similar consequences that of the J6ers faced, where they were forced into cells without barely any clothing, buckets to pee in, and they were mistreated. I'd like to see a similar treatment of those who incited those people to go in and ushered those people in and encouraged those people to go in. Anyway, Kash Patel, he shared some good news. I would say this is good news, that the FBI is surging assets into the state of Minnesota. So what does that mean? That means they're putting people in, and they're going to try to figure out and investigate this fraud and figure out who knew what when. Okay. And they're going to put their FBI agents on the case. And this is the latest information to have come out. Patel explained how they have already secured 78 indictments. Sorry, not enough. 57 convictions in the fraud. I think that you've got to do more high profile. Now, these are all these Somali immigrants. I don't want the little fish, Kash. I want the big fish. I want, are you investigating Ilhan Omar? Are you investigating Tim Walz? I know they are investigating Tim Walz, but I want to see action against the people at the top, the big fish, if you will. So here is the post from the FBI Director Kash Patel. And I don't know about you, but I think he's a little embarrassed by Nick Shirley's. I won't read the whole thing, but I think that Kash Patel is embarrassed by Nick Shirley's video here. I think he kind of got caught with his pants down. I don't know if that's the saying, but this has been going on in the news for quite some time, and we haven't had any high-profile convictions. Okay, yes, I talked about those couple of Somali immigrants who are closely tied to Ilhan Omar, and that's great. Yeah, get them. But what about the big fish? The people who signed off on this stuff, the people who knew it was happening and didn't put an end to it. Patel said that the FBI thinks that this is just the tip of a very large iceberg, and that the investigation is ongoing. He also noted that many individuals are also being referred to immigration officials for further denaturalization and deportation proceedings where applicable. So that's awesome. And a lot of people don't know this. If you're a citizen and you're naturalized here, that doesn't, blanket immunity you from deportation. Okay, you come here to this country as a foreigner, go through our citizenship proceedings, and then you commit crimes there is no immunity for you once you become a citizen. Okay, you're still considered a foreigner to an extent. and you will be deported if you commit this is remember that kid, I forget his name, but he had the green card, and people made a big fuss that Donald Trump revoked his green card. Well, yeah, because he was terrorizing Jewish students on college campuses. I forget the kid's name, but he was also closely connected to terrorism, Islam extremism. So, yeah, you're not immune. Okay, even if you did go through some sort of citizenship process or a temporary status, you've got some sort of status here. You're not immune from deportation proceedings if you're caught up in some sort of crime. So that is what Kash Patel said. He says, hey, denaturalization, deportation proceedings where applicable, good. But this has been going on for years from what I've heard. And this should have been on Kash Patel's radar much earlier in this administration. I would have loved to seen them really do something about this a few months ago. It seems like they're ramping it up now. Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent has been looking into aspects of this fraud where there is reportedly money going to oversee terrorists. This is good. It should be dismantled. But I'm looking for the big fish. And I'm sorry, but so far, Kash Patel, Attorney General Pam Bondi, have they gone after big fish? No. Not when it comes to COVID, not when it comes to the 2020 election fraud, the rigged election, not when it comes to Jan 6. They haven't gone after anybody. So, yeah, people locally have been calling out Tim Walz and other Minnesota officials for a while. I'm telling you, back from 2018. Okay, this has been going on for a while. And 2018, who was in office then? President Donald Trump. You know, this should have been a priority for not only the Trump 1.0 administration, the Biden administration, and Trump 2.0 administration. So hopefully the FBI is going to be taking a look into not just the foot soldiers there. Everybody you saw in that Nick Shirley video, they are foot soldiers. Okay, they're just marching over. And those are the people they're convicting right now, these Somali immigrants who are tied up in this thing. But I want to know, I want you to look into who knew what when. And I want you to look into who signed off on all of this. Who is the mastermind? And I mean, it's ongoing, so hopefully they take this seriously. And I think that it took Nick Shirley's video here to press the FBI Director Kash Patel into giving us an update. And, you know, I think he was humiliated by the video because Nick uncovered more than what he's given us as far as updates about this. We've had 57 convictions, sure. But a lot of them are small fries. You know, we're talking multiple daycare centers. You saw all those healthcare workers in those healthcare centers. They're not convicted, you know, and Shirley was there. I mean, they should be busting down the doors at 5 a.m. in the morning, cuffing all those people, interrogating them, all those people in those healthcare centers. But it took Nick Shirley to get the most powerful law enforcement agency, the director of that agency, most powerful agency in the country, law enforcement agency, to say anything about this rampant fraud, really. He hasn't said much at all. And I wish he'd spend, Kash Patel, less time talking about his, you know, girlfriend, who's a country music singer. And I think that he should spend more time busting down the doors of these fraudsters and busting down the doors of these criminals at 5 a.m. in the morning and cuffing them, because that's what they did, the Biden administration. And they didn't even do anything wrong. The pro-lifers, Mark Huck is somebody who comes to mind, who was outside of a pro-life or outside of an abortion clinic praying. They busted down his door at 5 a.m. These people are sick. They're taking our money, and they're saying that they're providing health care. They're saying that they're providing child care, and they're not doing that. These people are sick, and they deserve their doors busted in at 5 a.m. Not the guy who's praying outside of an abortion clinic. His door doesn't deserve to be busted in at 5 a.m. in the morning. Brandon Struck, who didn't even go into the Capitol, he's the guy with Walk Away, Jan 6er. His whole life was destroyed. And it was just because he was there that day. He didn't even go inside. His cell phone location data had him there on the grounds that day at the Capitol on January 6th. And he didn't even go inside. What about the FBI agents with the khaki pants, okay, and the sunglasses, who are telling people to go inside, who are ushering people in as if it was a tour of the Capitol? What about those agents? Are we going to find those people who ushered people into the Jan 6 to the Capitol and got them on trespassing? Are we going to hold them accountable because they pretty much incited people to go in? Are you going to get them on incitement? Are we going to bust down those guys' doors? I want Brandon Struck to be avenged, and all the J6ers who were mistreated. He was shackled. His wrists and his feet were shackled, and he didn't even go outside. So, oh man, I mean, I'm just disappointed. I thought this was going to be retribution. I thought it was going to be a vengeance. And I'm not saying that to, and not be Christian like. I mean, there is right and there is wrong, and we need to go after the people who are wrong. Okay, not the people who were there that day to protest or to rally together and were ushered in under false pretenses into the Capitol, and then later cuffed for trespassing and then served time. These J6ers served time, years, 6, 7, 8 years, and weren't given a bathroom to go pee in. They had to go pee in buckets and laid on little thin mats like this for trespassing. Okay, so the guy who killed himself, the Jan 6er who killed himself because he thought he was facing a 20-year sentence charge for terrorism. And then it was later the prosecutor came out and said, well, if he would have just waited, we probably would have pled that down. Well, why would you stick him with the terrorism charge to begin with? Freak everybody out as a political statement? What's going on? You freaked him out. He killed himself. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very disappointed with this FBI, and I hope that they get their heads out of their butts. Anyway, welcome back to the Conservative Cat Show. Appreciate you being here. Smash that like button. Sorry, Cat, the big fish are too big, too powerful to be caught. Yeah, I mean, to an extent, I understand, but I mean, we've got the House, we've got the Senate, Trump, in the White House, we've got the Supreme Court. What the hell are we doing here at this point? Like, the too big, too powerful? No, we need to start using our power, just like they use their power against us from 2020 to 2024. Okay, 2025. We need to start weaponizing our power now and getting them to, and we didn't do anything wrong. You had parents who were going to school board meetings and they were labeled domestic terrorists. You had TPUSA labeled as an extremist group. You had FBI agents going into Catholic Mass, writing down everything that the priests were saying, and they were labeled, Latin Mass was labeled as extremism. Okay, so they're big fish and they're too big, too powerful. Well, we need to start using our power. We do have it. The Governor J.B. Pritzker, Brandon Johnson's, they're an open rebellion of the United States. And I'm sorry, but them not being cuffed at this point is just cowardly. It's cowardly. I love the Trump a lot of things that he's done is great. The Trump administration has done great things, but it's just not enough. Anyway, let's get back to the show. I've got a few things that I want to talk about. Today's story, It's an Illinois special. And it kind of fits in with the whole Minnesota thing. There's outright just straight up fraud. And that's what you saw in Nick Shirley's video, Minnesota, where you've got no children in these daycares. But then you've got other stories like this where it's just blatant waste. You've got these huge government salaries in Illinois, millions of taxpayer dollars, and then there's zero accountability. Okay, so a lot of our taxpayer dollars, they go to the Chicago homeless initiatives, and they're all homeless nonprofits. And like these nonprofits have openly stated, our governor has openly stated that the goal isn't to eradicate homeless, but to manage it and to get to a functional zero, which means we're going to provide people a bed for the night, but in the morning, we're going to have them go to a different place and maybe give them a different place to stay. We're not going to give them the resources to pull themselves out of homelessness, even though that's what's, touted on our website and, should be the goal. No, we're not going to do that. Why? Because there's millions of taxpayer dollars we've got to collect for our salaries. And we're all out of jobs if we actually eradicate homelessness. And there's zero accountability when it even comes to, what was it, in the course of like a few months, I think it was like 7 months, there were $60 million funneled into ICER, which is an immigrant nonprofit organization where they help illegals avoid deportation. Okay. There's a blatant waste of our, and we don't even know if they're actually working, if they're actually saving these immigrants from deportation. They're evading federal, or they're not following federal immigration law, number one. Number two, we don't even know if they're breaking the law like enough to justify the 60 million. Put the federal law aside. The goal here is for you to do your job, your services, and your services is to keep as many immigrants away from deportation as possible. Are you even fulfilling that? There's zero accountability, and everything winds up worse off than it was before. Homelessness is worse off than it was before, although we've allocated millions upon millions of dollars to the problem. So Illinois has set out, and what they did was they wanted to increase the number of minority and women-owned businesses eligible for state contracts. Now, this is a bogus policy, okay? I don't agree with it at all. We should be issuing state contracts based on merit and cheap effectiveness, okay? The cheapest vendor, and we should be looking into that vendor's merits, not whether they're owned by women or minorities. That should not be the basis of which we award the contracts to, okay? So I'm not saying that I am for this policy at all. But let's put that aside and let's look at if this commission is actually working. Let's look at if this policy is actually being fulfilled, if they're actually increasing state contracts or awarding more state contracts to minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses. So they're not. The number has collapsed, actually. So the people in charge of making sure that more state contracts are issued to diversity hires, essentially the Black-owned businesses, the women-owned businesses, the people in charge, they're paid very handsomely. Okay, and they refuse to answer basic questions about the numbers here. The numbers don't lie. Okay, so let's break it down because this is about racial favoritism. That's what this is, Black-owned businesses. This shouldn't even be a policy. But this is what happens when the state replaces merit with an ideology. And, the government can't even get their own ideology, right? The government can't even fulfill what they say they're going to fulfill. So the promises made, promises broken. So Illinois has a program. Okay, so it's designed to award at least 30% of the state contract money to businesses owned by racial minorities and women. Okay, so what this program is supposed to do is to make sure that a lot of Black-owned businesses and a lot of women-owned businesses get the taxpayer money to do some sort of job for the government, because the government is incapable of doing itself. They have to outsource it to the profit or the nonprofit sector or the private sector. Okay, because government sucks. Okay, they can't even do it themselves, so they outsource it. They use our taxpayer money to outsource it, which I don't know why we just wouldn't cut out the middleman and pay these businesses to do the services that, yeah. But anyway, these businesses, they get contracting preferences, extra help navigating, the state bureaucracy, how to apply for the state contract. They get extra help. So through this program, you've got Becky. She's going to sit down with this Black-owned business owner. She's going to be paid to do that with taxpayer money, to sit down with Black-owned business owner and help him apply for the state contract. Okay, so they get advantage over everyone else, the Black-owned businesses and the women-owned businesses, which is, to me, blatant discrimination, okay, and favoritism, equal protection clause, like, I don't even know how this is legal, but whatever. Okay, so supporters call this equity, right? But obviously I would call it discrimination. Either way, this program's entire justification is based on one thing, much like the daycares in Minnesota. Are you actually providing the service and caring for children in Minnesota? Yeah, I'm all right with the taxpayer dollars being sent over. Sure, whatever. I could argue in Minnesota, I think childcare should not be government funded or government run. Like I said, the $40 burger joint, the millennial burger joint, you pay $40 for a burger. You might as well, as a private citizen, take that money, go spend it less money on a private daycare, which a lot of times they are far cheaper, right? Because they're taking your money, taxpayer money, and then you also have to pay usually some sort of tuition. Now the tuition is cheaper, but it ultimately winds up being more expensive for you, for the government-run daycare, because they're taking the money out of your paycheck, and then they're charging you on top of that. So it winds up being more expensive than the private option. And if you had the private option and you got the government out of it completely, you would have more competition in that private space, and the prices would come down for childcare. Anyway, I'm not arguing. I don't want to argue that. I don't really want to argue with the Illinois thing, the DEI, and whether it's a good policy, because I think it's just outright discrimination. We should be awarding state contracts based on merit, but that's not really what I'm arguing here. Is the program justified? Are they producing the numbers? Are they actually providing the services? So in Minnesota's case, okay, you've got, $4 million pouring into this daycare. Where are the kids? Right? You've got millions pouring into this commission and this program to ensure minority-owned businesses are awarded the contracts. Are the minority-owned businesses actually getting more contracts? So the number of certified businesses should be growing, right? Because we created this commission, we pay people to ensure that number grows. Instead, the number of certified businesses or minority-owned businesses getting awarded contracts is shrinking. And it has been shrinking here in the state of Illinois for 17 months. So Illinois, they switched and they say that it's because of the software system. Okay. They got a new software system last year, and there were about 5,500 or 5,050 certified businesses now. That's been cut in half over the last 17 months to 2,800. Okay. So you had 5,000 minority-owned businesses certified through this program, and they're supposed to be getting these state contracts. But now you've got half of that, okay, of these minority-owned program or minority-owned businesses registered or certified with the program. So, whoa, after the commission is formed, the program is formed, you would think that that number, the 5,000, would go up. It actually went down, it dipped by half. Okay. It's not even a dip. I would say it's not a slowdown. It's a complete collapse of minority owned businesses getting contracts. So, and remember, this is the commission's primary job, which is to increase certifications, increase the number of minority. Becky, she's supposed to sit down with the Black owned businesses and get the Black owned business owner certified through this program, where they're the first in line to get that state contract, to be awarded that state contract. This is their primary job, and they're sucking at it. Okay. So let me tell you about all the people in charge, the Beckys. Okay. The Illinois Commission on Equity and Inclusion was created in 2022, and they get $7 million every single year. So there are 7 commissioners. Okay. And they're all appointed by the governor. So they all sit on this commission. Each commissioner is paid about $150,000 per year, and they are allowed to have other paying jobs as well. Okay, on top of that, and they oversee a staff. So this commission of 7 oversees a staff of about 30 employees. So you got 37 people operating this thing. So millions of dollars in salaries, millions in overhead. You've got millions dedicated to software, and all of these millions, what does it produce? Fewer minority-owned businesses than before. Okay, prior to the existence of this commission and the program, there were more minority-owned businesses being awarded state contract than there are now. So when reporters ask for comment, they're all silent. Similar to Nick Shirley here. He's asking people for comment, asking people where the children are. Complete silence. The center square. None of the commissioners responded to request for comment from the center square. This article's in the center square. You can read all about it. So here's where it gets really weird and uncomfortable. For years, Black-owned businesses have made up a large part. So the 2,800 that I'm talking about, so it dipped from, since the creation of the commission, 5,000 to 2,800. Okay, that's a complete collapse of minority-owned businesses. Okay, of the 2,800, well, when it was 5,000, it used to be majority Black-owned businesses. Okay, but now we've dipped, we've collapsed, we've got 2,800 minority-owned businesses, and they're not really all Black-owned anymore, like they were with the 5,000 number. Rather, the largest share go to white women-owned businesses. So I'm going to ask a question that the media won't. How exactly did a program designed to uplift minority entrepreneurs end up shrinking overall participation and shifting away from the very group it claimed to prioritize? Okay, so this whole program was designed to uplift Black people, okay, and Black-owned business owners. Okay, they've got Becky's dedicated to each Black-owned business owner, and they're supposed to certify them with the program. But it turns out that minorities overall are not being certified through this program. The minority-owned businesses that are trying to get state contracts went down by at least half, and there's no participation in this program, and they have shifted away from Black-owned businesses and just to white minority or white women-owned businesses. And, you know, this is government solutions. This is the product of government solutions. Hey, we think there's a problem with diversity. We're not hiring enough Black-owned businesses. We're not hiring out, you know, our services to enough white women-owned businesses. We got to do better on that. Let's come up with a solution. Well, our solution is to pay all these commissioners and to pay all these people under the commissioners. But it gets worse. So, and, you know, the policy itself, the idea here that you're awarding more state contracts based on somebody's skin color or their genitalia is just absurd to me. This is what happens when you replace organic economic activity with bureaucracy, checklists, political boxes, the people without lawyers, without lobbyists, without the staff to work with the Beckys, they get crushed. Okay, a lot of these minority-owned businesses, this Black-owned business, is not going to have somebody sit down with Becky and certify for the state contract, and the bureaucracy scares a lot of that's what I think that happened here. A lot of the bureaucracy has scared off some of these minority-owned businesses from applying to be awarded those state contracts. So yeah, we shouldn't have replaced organic economic activity with DEI. So the commission says that the problem started when it came to this new computer. Okay, although the commission has been around since 2022, it's dipped for the last 17 months, and they said, oh, it's the new computer thing. Okay, whatever. The software was supposed to streamline certification. You've got 30 employees, man, and 7 commissioners. I don't even know why you need a software. Okay, if you've got 30, employees, each employee should have a client list of about 10 that helps them with certification. I don't even know why you would need a software, but whatever. Instead, it did the opposite. It did not streamline certification. According to them, the software, couldn't pull up. The old system could pull up certification data from other government entities like the city of Chicago, the Illinois Department of Transportation, Cook County. That's how most businesses were certified. Okay, so they would pull, because the city of Chicago, Department of Transportation, Cook County, they've got similar programs, where they award contracts, government contracts to the minority-owned businesses. They've got that data. The city of Chicago has that data. And then the old system used to share that data with the Illinois Commission that was set up, the Illinois Diversity Commission, and they'd be able to, contact those owners and get them certified for state contracts. But they replaced the old system. The new system apparently can't do that, and that's what they're blaming it on, the computer. Okay. So thousands of businesses that were already certified elsewhere were suddenly told, hey, start over. You have to not only certify with the city of Chicago, but we're going to make you double certify with the state of Illinois for an Illinois contract. Whereas, prior you could sign up or certify for a contract with the city of Chicago, and then that would already put you into the running for a state contract, right? So that's how that whole software thing worked. And they told you, hey, you got to apply again. You got to apply twice. Okay. Upload the documents twice. Navigate Illinois bureaucracy. And if you don't, you're kind of out of luck. You aren't certified. You aren't considered for state contracts or given priority for state contracts as a Black-owned business or a minority-owned business. So at the end of the day, you can blame your computer all you want, but you've got 30 freaking people and you've got 7 commissioners. All of you are paid exorbitant salaries. I'm talking $150,000 for the 7 commissioners, and I'm sure the employees are paid very, very well. For that amount of people, you give them a client list of about 10, and they should be sitting down personally with these Black-owned businesses and helping them get certified through certified through the state. I mean, I just don't get it. Now enter in Larry Ivory. He's quoted in the Center Square. He's president of the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce. He didn't mince words. He said that the software problem was so bad, it looked like somebody deliberately kneecapped the state's diversity efforts. Okay. So during a public commission meeting, he asked a transparency question, and he said, who chose the vendor, who chose this new system, approved of this new software that didn't share that data with the state of Illinois, from the city of Chicago, from Cook County, who signed off. on breaking this certification pipeline. Okay, like where you funnel that data to the state of Illinois and you don't have to apply twice. Where these Black-owned businesses are getting kind of caught up in the bureaucracy. And he started asking all these questions during this public meeting. And guess what happens? They muted his mic. Okay, so similar to what Nick Shirley was doing, he went out to Minnesota, started putting cameras in people's faces, and they slammed the door, locked the doors on their face, wouldn't open up the doors. What happened here is this guy started asking questions like, who approved the software system? The system sucks. Like, why would you install a software system that breaks this certification pipeline and doesn't allow for data sharing? Like, are you guys stupid? You know, and I'm paraphrasing for Larry here, but they muted his mic. They didn't even let him ask these questions. And this was during public comment. So, you know, and nobody else was waiting to speak. They didn't even let him speak during public comment. So the meeting ended at 40 minutes, despite a 2-hour window. The chairwoman, Nina, okay, of the commission that I'm talking about that was created in 2022 to increase diversity, didn't address the software concerns at all during the meeting. Instead, she scolded Ivory over an unrelated comment and said, "Larry Ivory, you are incorrect." And I hate to say this, but incorrect about what? Like, you guys have even said that the software commission, or that the software was, you know, the problem here, and that's why you guys couldn't get those numbers, those minority-owned businesses certified, and that why that number dipped from 5,000 to 2,800. Okay, so what exactly is Larry incorrect about? The numbers don't lie. You guys aren't doing the job that we're paying you to do. This is $7 million a year that we're giving you, and you guys are all paid $150,000 a year to do this thing that you're not doing. So, and in fact, it's so much worse. So, and the irony in all of this is really funny. So the software vendor, and this is where DEI doesn't work and where the policy is just complete trash to begin with. The software vendor was selected. Okay. And this software vendor is a minority-owned business. And I want you to let that sink in. Okay. They hired a minority-owned company to run its diversity certification system. And the result was fewer minority-owned businesses certified. So that's not satire. This is really ironic, but it just goes to show you when you don't hire people based on merit, things go down the toilet. Okay. You go woke, you go broke. What is it? Everything woke turns to shit, right? That's what Donald Trump says. And, you know, this is Illinois. Okay. And it raises a serious question here that nobody in Springfield wants to answer. Is this incompetence? Is it cronyism? Like, are you guys getting paid $150,000 to just sit there and eat bonbons all day and vote for Governor J.B. Pritzker? What's going on here? You know, what's happening? And I want to talk about the biblical worldview here. And Deuteronomy 16:19 says this: "You shall not show partiality in judgment." So DEI at its core is just unbiblical. Okay. Righteousness is not outcome engineering. Justice is not favoritism. Okay. They're showing favoritism to certain owned businesses because of their skin color and because of their genitalia. And God does not command government to manipulate markets to manufacture equal outcomes or equal results. Okay, he commands honest weights and measures. And the way you do that is with a merit-based system. And, you know, instead of creating a fair field here, a fair playing field, the state has created a rigged system, plays favorites. And they rigged it so badly that it collapsed under its own weight. They've got the minority-owned business software company vendor, and they screwed the pooch. They messed up. And now, as a result, there's less minority-owned businesses who are certified to be awarded state contracts favorably considered. or first in line to be considered for state contracts. So who got hurt here? I'll tell you, it's not the commissioners getting paid $150K of your tax money. They still get paid. It's not the politicians who voted on this gay policy, this DEI policy, to create the commission, to create the program that favors Black-owned businesses and white women-owned businesses when issuing state contracts. No, they get to write their press releases and say, like, I'm all for DEI. Okay, I'll tell you who the losers are. It's the minority business owners, okay, who, did everything right, and they were going to get certified, and they were supposed to be first in line, but they can't navigate the bureaucracy like the business owners. They are hurt by this, okay, because 5,000 to 2,800, there are far less minority-owned business owners being considered through this program than there were. I mean, without the program, there were more minority-owned businesses that were getting paid or that were getting state contracts. When you inserted this DEI commission and this program, that's when everything went to shit. So the business owners are hurt. These business owners who don't have time to navigate this bureaucracy of the commission, where the commission is just making it 10 times harder. Okay. And then you've got the taxpayers. Really, they're the ones really screwed in all of this, because we are funding a program that actively makes things worse and actively is going against their primary objective. So this is what happens when government tries to replace God-given human creativity with centralized control. Okay, if you were to just let the economy breathe organically, let these people sign up for the contracts, make that system, as easy as possible for any business owner to go in and not give favorability and look at the merit, look at the affordability of that business that you're looking to award the state contract to. Like, if we were just to let the economy, breathe and not replace human creativity with centralized control, none of this would have happened. None of it. So let's recap. Illinois spent millions to promote equity. They created a commission with 6-figure salaries for the commissioners. They installed a broken software system because it was not minority owned, and they tried to give preferential treatment to a minority owned business. And it turns out, hey, when you don't award contracts based on merit, things turn to shit really quick. So then they muted the critics who asked questions like, hey, how come since the creation of this commission, less minority-owned businesses are getting awarded contracts? They've ignored the questions. They've muted critics. They've ignored transparency. And they ended up with nearly half the certified businesses it once had prior to the commission being created. So this is not equity. This is arrogance. And until Illinois learns that fairness comes from equal rules, not political favoritism, this cycle is going to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. Smash that like button, share this out, and subscribe to the channel. If you want to support the program, you can always visit Patriot Pump Energy. Get your bottle of premium pre-workout today. This is our fruit punch flavor. Use promo code ConservativeCat at checkout for $10 off. This pre-workout, not like your other pre-workouts, there's no artificial colors or dyes. And we're not trying to get you addicted to the exorbitant amounts of caffeine. And fun fact, caffeine stops working at about 150 milligrams. It's just excessive at that point. If you're doing 300 milligrams, a lot of these energy drinks have like 200. It's just excessive. And you're going to experience this crash very quickly if you have excessive amounts of caffeine. And what we did less caffeine, 150, and we paired it with a black pepper extract, which keeps that caffeine working for you much longer. And it provides you like a different focus rather than like just bouncing off the walls, crazy energy. It focuses that energy and it provides a more mental type of focus. So I think that the product's great. It works for me. It might work for you. Try it out. PatriotPumpEnergy.com. Now let's get to President Donald Trump. So lots have been going on in the news today. We talked about Minnesota. We talked about Illinois. Now we're going to talk about President Donald Trump meeting with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. He met with him on Sunday at Mar-a-Lago. I'm going to take a quick break, get a sip of water. You guys chill out for a second, subscribe. Take this time to subscribe to the channel. I'll be right back.
Sometimes God stops you cold, not with a whisper, with a punch to the soul. Saul wasn't looking for Jesus. He was hunting Christians. He had power, position, and a mission. Then God knocked him to the dirt, a light from heaven, a voice that knew his name. Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? That moment wasn't soft. It wasn't sweet. It was a spiritual ambush. God still works like that. He steps into your mess, interrupts your pride, confronts the man you've become when you're wandered too far. Maybe you're building your own kingdom. Maybe your fists are up, fighting battles God never called you to. Or maybe you're just running hard in the wrong direction. But then comes the voice, clear, heavy, holy. Why are you persecuting me? Jesus doesn't want your behavior fixed. He wants your heart surrendered. Saul didn't get a lecture. He got a mission. Get up, go to the city. You'll be told what to do. That's the way of real manhood in the kingdom. Surrender first, then orders. You don't need every answer right now. You need to obey the voice. Follow the light. Rise up off the dirt and walk the road God lays out for you. Some roads break you to rebuild you, and that's exactly what Jesus wants. You want to train like a warrior? You need fuel like one. Patriot Pump is clean, powerful pre-workout that won't let you quit halfway. Just like the mission God gives you, it's not about the hype. It's about the grit. Fuel up, lock in, get after it.
Hey, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. I so do appreciate you tuning in this morning. Subscribe to the channel. That is the best way to support the program. You can always send your super chats. I usually take super chats at the end of each show. Appreciate you being here. Tim Walz is racist. Yes, we were talking about Tim Walz, and it's racist. I'll fix it. Yeah, so I think what Brian is trying to say here is the childcare, the healthcare, they do these, fronts as it's all guys, and they use their, it's racism as a front. Okay, for example, the Illinois story that we were just talking about before he took the break. Illinois, they set up this whole commission, paying 7 commissioners, 6-figure salaries. They've got 30 employees underneath them. So this is a 40 deep, bureaucrats in this program. And this whole program was set up to try to get minority-owned businesses certified to be awarded the state contracts first over white people, over white men-owned businesses specifically. And they're not actually doing their job. And the way they get this, these sort of fake or wasteful programs through is by pulling on heartstrings. Okay, so DEI, minorities, slavery, and, all the buzzwords. They've been discriminated in the past, and we have to right the wrongs, and equity. They've got the buzzwords out there, and similar to, the Minnesota case where, they've got the child care, feeding our future, all these buzzwords to help children, to help the less fortunate, but really it's all a guise, and they install these programs where they create these centers, in Minnesota's case, under the guise that they're going to help kids. And there's no kids being helped. What we saw in the video, Nick Shirley exposed that there are no kids in the program. What I just exposed here in Illinois, their minority-owned businesses aren't. In fact, they're worse off since the commission was created. And, you know, they use the emotional manipulation to get these things launched, and then they'll once they're launched, they'll waste your money or outright take it and not provide the service that they say they're going to provide. So let's get to Ukraine. President Vladimir Zelensky being in Mar-a-Lago. There is a push to end this war between Ukraine and Russia. And a lot of critics of President Donald Trump have said, like, oh, you should have ended this war by now. Okay, these things take time. And Donald Trump, he posted that he had a conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin, and he said that it was a good and productive call. Let me play this for you. This was Zelensky at Mar-a-Lago.
Gotta make a deal, gotta get it done. Too many people dying, and I think both presidents want to make a deal. We believe that they're going to brief you.
You need Putin again soon?
Depends. I do believe that we have the makings of a deal. It's good for Ukraine, good for everybody. It's very important. There's nothing more important in my book. We settled 8 wars, and this is the most difficult one. So to be in the middle of the pack. This is the most difficult one, but we're going to get it done. We're going to have a great meeting today. This gentleman has worked very hard, and he's very brave, and his people are very brave. I mean, what they've gone through, no nation, very rarely has a nation ever had to go through this. So we're going to have a very good meeting today, I think, and I'm also calling President Putin back after the meeting, and we'll continue a negotiation. Pretty complex, but not that complex.
What should we expect of these deals? Deadline?
I don't have deadlines. I have you know what my deadline is? Getting the war ended. You don't have deadlines. You agree with that? Are you prepared to sign security agreement today? Well, it depends what the security agreement says. What a dumb question. Nobody even knows what the security agreement is going to say. But there will be a security agreement. It'll be a strong agreement. And the European nations are very much involved in that. They'll be very much involved in protection, etc. But the European nations have been really great. They're very much in line with this meeting and getting a deal done. They're terrific people. I think you can say that. There's nobody there. They all want to get it done, and they've been very supportive, I think.
Okay. So let me unpack what you had just heard there, okay? Because it was a little grainy. The mics were a little quiet. So Trump, he had some positive words. He was, taking questions from reporters. And he said, quote, "I do believe that we have the makings of a deal, to end the war in Ukraine." And he told reporters that as he stood by Zelensky there, that he believes the process can move very rapidly. And prior to meeting with Zelensky, he had a phone call with Putin. Okay. And he says that he doesn't have a deadline because he was asked by reporters, what's your deadline to get the war ended? And a lot of Trump's critics have said he's not ending the war fast enough. The war was really fascinating. Somebody put it in the comment section. I think really what it was for the mineral deal, and Putin is really just a proud guy a lot of the Ukrainians there speak Russian. I mean, this the boundaries of Ukraine versus Russia has been disputed historically for quite some time. But really, what Russia wanted was the minerals. Okay, Trump very early on, in an attempt to end this war, kind of took the minerals out of this out of play for Russia. So what Trump did, he did like a minerals deal with Ukraine, where, hey, Ukraine, you're going to give us minerals, and in exchange, we're going to pay for those, okay, minerals, and we're going to give your country, we're going to buy those minerals off of you. So if Russia goes in and tries to take those minerals with that deal in place, I mean, it's kind of already effectively ended. They can't take the minerals from Zelensky's Ukraine, because if they take it from Zelensky, they're taking from the United States, and Russia would be entering into confrontation or conflict with the United States. So very early on in his presidency, Trump did that, which was genius. He took it out of play. So he took the very reason why Russia would want Ukraine out. He took that out of play. And, you know, these things take time. Ukraine is a very corrupt country. Zelensky is very corrupt. The people hate him. He refuses to hold an election. It's not democracy over there. It is a dictatorship. We've got two dictators fighting. Okay, and Russia wants the minerals, and they believe that they're entitled to Ukraine because, you know, historically, that land, you know, it's been disputed that land is Russia's. They're all Russian speaking over there. You know, they speak Ukrainian, some of them, but it's pretty much Russian speaking. And some of the Ukrainians don't like Zelensky at all, and they would prefer a more competent dictator over the, you know, stripping, heel-wearing, penis piano playing Zelensky, okay, to put it lightly. People think he's a joke. He's like some sort of actor. They don't think that he's providing, you know, when you're under a dictatorship, under a true authoritarian regime, you want your dictator to provide basic necessities. And that's one thing that Vladimir does. And I'm not saying Vladimir Putin is a saint by any means. He controls his people. This is a totalitarian regime in Russia. But at least he's a competent dictator. And somebody who can be taken seriously. And what Russia was wanting to do was take those minerals. Russia, over time, has become the gas station of the world, the energy output of the world. I mean, look at what's gone on in Germany. They've transitioned away from coal, nuclear, and they rely now on Russia. So they've got all this green energy scam going on in Germany. And Germany, turns out they're having rolling blackouts, and the green energy thing doesn't really work. So Russia is kind of monopolized and has become so powerful in the energy sector, and they're relied on by not just Germany, but several other countries. And, you know, Putin was like, well, since we're relied on so heavily, we need these minerals, you know, to make batteries and to, you know, provide energy to this growing demand, these countries that have idiotically transitioned to green energy, green weenie bullcrap. We didn't do that. You know, we've got the oil and we've got the minerals, and he wants to make his country so powerful to where, you know, every other country needs them. So Trump here in vintage form wasn't taking any nonsense from the media. Like I said, Trump very early on in his presidency kind of took like the golden goose away from Putin with the minerals deal. So he effectively ended the war then, but it's still kind of ongoing. These things take time. Trump shut down the media when they were like, what's your deadline? This should have already been ended. He snapped at one of the reporters for asking about a security agreement. And he goes, what a dumb question. No one knows what's in the security agreement. Okay. It is kind of a dumb question because at this point, it's like we don't even know if the war's ended yet. And you're asking about the security agreement. Okay. But he did say, Donald Trump said, that the ultimate agreement would have a good security guarantee for Ukraine. And he describes their talks as in the final stages. Okay, and it sounded like he was kind of giving them a warning, hey, get this done. If you don't, the option isn't good. The other option isn't good. And look, the security agreement, I'm not excited about that. And I'm kind of glad that the reporter asked the question. Trump really, I mean, of course he had to shut it down. But America First does not mean signing security guarantees. Okay, vague or otherwise. I'd be curious what the security agreement is going to be because Trump, he snapped at this reporter who was asking what it would be. Our security agreement is going to be with Ukraine. He says, what a dumb question. And he's right. Nobody knows, what the security agreement is ultimately going to be because we haven't even gotten to an end of the war yet. But that's exactly the problem. Trump said that the final deal would include a good security guarantee. And that should set off alarm bells to anybody who's America First. So if you're America First, this should bother you. It bothers me. History shows us that there is no such thing as a limited U.S. security guarantee. Okay, every security guarantee winds up expanding, winds up permanent, and everyone eventually, puts American money, credibility, and lives on the line for this security agreement. So what is the security agreement? This is where you'd provide really military to ensure that Russia doesn't invade again after they say, okay, let's end the war. We're done fighting. Then we'd put U.S. troops in there or something like that. Now, I don't know if it's going to be U.S. security agreement. He was kind of talking about NATO, the European nations being a part of that security deal. I don't know. At the end of the day, America First means ending the war, not freezing it in place with U.S. backing. Okay, there's a big difference between straight up ending the war and then putting the U.S. in there to kind of freeze the war. And the moment a security guarantee has been offered, and it sounds like that's what this is, your leverage disappears. Okay, so with the mineral deal, love it. You've got, you've taken Putin's reason for going in, other than, he's a prideful guy. He's still going in because he's a prideful guy. You've taken the main reason out with the mineral deal, and that was gorgeous because you've essentially made Ukraine an ally without making them an ally of the United States and stepping on the toes of, Putin too much by making them an ally or having Ukraine join NATO. Okay. And, what he's doing here with the security guarantee, if there is some sort of security agreement, he's losing leverage because Ukraine has less of a reason to compromise. Okay. If they've got the big bad United States backing them and providing security, the conflict becomes managed instead of resolved. Okay. And Ukraine doesn't have any reason to compromise with Russia. That's how forever wars are born, is this security agreement or security guarantee. So Trump said their talks are in the final stages. I don't care if we negotiate, some silly European country to go in there and provide some sort of security. I'd be all right with that, whatever. I just don't want to see the U.S. even really facilitate that. But it sounds like we might even be the ones providing the security for Ukraine after the war's ended. And I don't know, but they're in their final stages. He says, get it done, or the option is worse. But the leverage here matters, and you've lost all your leverage because Ukraine's not compromising with Russia. If you're having the big bad United States come in and provide security, it just sort of manages the war rather than resolves it completely. So the leverage is undercut immediately when you offer a security guarantee. So I don't know. We should be asking why America is discussing long-term guarantees abroad when our border is wide open, our military is stretched thin, and our debt is exploding. Okay. I don't really care about Ukraine. To be honest with you, I do care that people die, and I want to see the war ended just as much as the next guy, but it's not America. Ukraine isn't an ally. They are technically sort of an ally now because of this minerals deal, which was a smart move, I think, from President Donald Trump. But real America First policy is simple. No guarantees, no forever wars. Okay, forever wars are started with this whole security thing. Okay, the security guaranteed. So Trump said, quote, I think we're in the final stages of talking. We're going to see. Otherwise, it's going to be go on for a long time. It'll either end or it's going to go on for a long time and millions of additional people are going to be killed. Now, with a security guarantee, you don't have millions of people being killed. With the presence of either the United States or some sort of other, NATO country, if that's negotiated by the U.S., that's going to kind of keep Russia at bay and kind of managed. So you're not going to have people killed, and it's not going to be an ongoing war type situation. But it's still kind of war. It's not resolved. And, I don't know. They sat down with other negotiators there at the table, Zelensky and President Donald Trump. They sat down with Marco Rubio, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. And then they tossed the press out because they had to discuss the deal. But Trump, I thought this was a little fun tidbit. He offered the media some lunch and he joked around and he goes, would you guys like some food, or do you guys consider that a bribe? And then therefore you can't write, honestly, if you were to take some food, or are you going to write a bad story if you take some food? So listen to this. This is just kind of a fun little tidbit, but they sat down with Marco Rubio, other negotiators at this table. Take a listen.
Are you okay? Is everyone fine? Margaret, if you would, I think you could sit outside and have some food. Would you like to have food, or do you consider that a bribe? And therefore you cannot write honestly, or therefore you have to write a bad story. Okay, because if you'd like, would you like something to eat at this time? Yes or no? You can speak.
Yes, sir.
Yes? Okay. Margot, yes, sir. Take them outside, tell the chef, serve them a little lunch, okay?
Thank you, press.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
That should guarantee good stories, but it won't.
Thank you, guys.
They'll only get worse. So go out of their way to make them worse. He gave us a hamburger. We have to make them good.
Alex, thanks. Press.
Okay.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
You lead the way.
Okay, so I played that just because, I might be ripping into President Donald Trump here and saying he's not America first, and that might be the way you're taking what I'm saying. I think he's done a great job with the Ukraine-Russia war up to this point. Security deal, I think, would damage what good he's done with this war. So he wasn't kidding here. He actually did provide lunch for the reporters, which is kind of funny. They got like steak, they got pigs in a blanket, coconut shrimp fries, and chocolate chip cookies. And then they also got these little water bottles with the Trump logo on them. And he really does enjoy trolling the media. I think I'm reporting fairly. I think that, hey, the minerals deal, he's done a really great job with Ukraine, Russia so far. I am just hesitant about this security deal. And I don't know, I'll have to keep you updated and see what comes out of this meeting. I haven't seen anything come out of it yet, where they've officially ended the war, and where that security agreement would be in place. But I hope that the United States is out of it completely. Yeah. And somebody, brought up in the comment section that the Ukraine war was, really the Democrats' way of treating. Yeah. I mean, we funneled, what was it? $200 billion over there. And, this was just a scam. $200 billion over to the Ukraine war. And they were paying even first responders over there salaries. I mean, went beyond just defending Ukraine. Okay. It went beyond that. And really what was going on, I think, was some shady stuff with the Biden family, some money laundering going on, funneling that money back to the Democrat campaign for them to win 2020 and for them to win the midterms, in 2022. And it was all just shady to begin with. But I think what Donald Trump has done so far has been great. I'm not liking the security deal. So let me I gotta go. It's 8:00. I appreciate you guys being here. I'll take a few of your chats, send them now if you'd like. I do like this. Imagine thinking Somalis would be productive members of society, so productive members of civilized society. Yeah, there's a ton of Somalis, and I mean, it's been taken over. Minnesota has been taken over. Minnesota is not Minnesota anymore. It is just essentially Somali country, and that's really freaky. And you're right, Somalis. And I bring this up all the time, actually, in Somalia, the cousin marriage rate. And by cousin marriage rate, I mean even more so than just cousins. We're talking brother-sister. We're talking father-daughter. These incestual marriages. 60% of marriages are incest over there in Somalia. And I'm sorry, but when you've got a country like that, where 60% of their marriages are incestual, yeah, of course, they're not going to be productive members of society when they come here. If that's your culture, if that's what you're bringing over here to the United States, if that's what you agree with, then no. Like, and I say this all the time, American culture is superior for several reasons, but mainly I think it's the Christianity. This was a country built by Christians. The Constitution, they had the Bible open while writing the Constitution. A lot of our laws are derived from the Christian Bible. And unfortunately, other countries don't have that. And it's very evident they don't have that. So, for example, in other countries, you'll see people like eating in the streets, not cleaning their food, really like mishandling their food. And here we've got things like the health departments, right? And all of this bureaucracy, government bureaucracy to ensure that our food is clean, and checks and balances on businesses. All that derives from Leviticus, where, you got to keep clean food. In other countries, it's not the culture where you don't drink and drive, and drunkenness is appropriate in, public settings. Here, you can't be drunk and disorderly. Why is that? Because the Christian Bible is very clear about being drunk, to not do it. And, that's where our DUI laws come in. And As far as our animals, even Leviticus talks about what to do when your animal attacks somebody. Here in the United States, typically, if your dog goes and hurts somebody and severely hurts somebody, your dog will be put down. And that's what it calls for in Leviticus. A lot of the law that we have here in this country is derived from the law of the Old Testament. And I think that we are a superior country because of that. There in Somalia, they're marrying their cousins, they're marrying their brothers and their sisters, they're having chicken buckets or whatever buckets of food out in the streets and not washing their hands, and letting people's animals like run wild. Like, that was something crazy. Where was I? I was in the Bahamas for a vacation, and that was something that was really wild to me. Was the animals. Like, your pets are just allowed to roam free. And here in the United States, we've got an ideology, or like a tenet here in American culture, where our pets are our property and we are to contain our property. Over in other countries, they don't see that. They don't see animals as property. And that sentiment is something that's expressed in the Christian Bible. So our culture is superior. Multiculturalism is evil. Multiculturalism says that every culture is the same and good, inherently good. That's not true. Child brides marrying off, what was it? Muhammad married like a 9-year-old girl or something like that. The Islam faith doesn't see that as a problem, child brides. So, sorry. I think that the faith that says, no to that is better than the one that says that it's okay to marry off children to grown men. Anyway, smash that like button, share this out with your friends, subscribe to the channel. It's been great. We'll be back again tomorrow morning, bright and early.